Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars, some of the most popular comedians, and we've got one for you today. We've been talking to him for over 20 years, and he's back with a brand new DVD. The Chubby Brown Hangs Up the Helmet tour has been going on all year. It's on DVD, and it's the final show, Chubby. What's all this about?
I think it's time to put my feet up, Alex, don't you? I mean, I've enjoyed every minute of it, don't get me wrong, but the length of time I've been up and down that bloody M1. God. I've left a bit of a legacy, haven't I, for Chubby fans. And to be honest, there's only so much you can elaborate on. There's like the materials. The materials had a good run. I think when you look back over the years, along with Billy Connolly, I was probably one of a handful of comedians that were bringing out tapes. I mean, some of my early tapes were on Betamax. God, where's that gone these days?
And in fact, you started really doing cassettes, didn't you? That was where we first heard you.
Yeah, and we live in a day and age now, you know, Alex, where you can download things on your watch.
I know.
I mean, so what's the use?
So let's be clear, it's the final DVD, but it's not the final live show.
Oh, no, I couldn't do that, because when I write things down, I need to tell somebody. You know, that's what I do. You know, for me, lots of comics over the years have modelled themselves on somebody else and to reach them dizzy heights. And I haven't done that. I'm still Chubby Brown. And at the last count, there was about 25 Chubby Browns. There's one in South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Tenerife. There's one in Canada, in Winnipeg. There's loads of Chubby Browns. I hope I'm not getting their tax bill.
You know, when I see some of these new guys, the Kevin Bridges or the Jack Whitehalls, I just wonder whether they'll have the longevity of Chubby Brown. I know you're controversial. Some of your material I don't agree with, but you can't deny the fact that you're a sellout audience up and down this country. How do you feel about these young guys? Are they funny? Because I struggle to laugh.
I struggle too, because I'm old school. That's only because I'm old school. I mean, I get people saying to me, you should be more Americanized. You should be talking about reading between the lines and giving people their own punchlines. But I'm not one. I'm a comic who tells, you know, I used to always say to people, and you know I've said this before, I'm not racist and sexist, and I'm a jokist. That's what I am. And if you tell me a joke about a thalidomide wasp with a glass eye and a wooden leg, and I think it's funny, I'll tell it. You know, I've got no inhibitions. It's just that's, you know, Clubland finished all the old comics when Clubland finished, and the new comics come out with it. It's all right if you like that type of thing. But me as an individual, I like a joke to be a joke. I watch these tapes, and I watch all these top comics stood there and said, hey, I got up this morning and I went down the road, and you know when you try to get in gear and you can't get in gear, and you look out the window and there's somebody behind you. Somebody's always behind you and the bib they're on. You think, what are you bibbing you're on for? And the audience are falling about and said, well, what are you laughing at?
Yep.
Could you please come to the punchline? You know, that's what gets me down.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be an end to any of it. It's just one long monologue, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about the PC Brigade? I wonder whether the DVDs are ending because of the editing and the people in these big corporations.
Well, there's a lot of things, Alex, they did tell me to take out, apparently. You know, I mean, I've never found it difficult to find work, as you know. The bottom line is, my audience is warm to shocking material, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to entertain them, and they expect me. It's a moral obligation I have to be shocking, and you know, I mean, I don't go over the top, but I am controversial. I'll always be controversial.
It's sad, though, that people can't get it on DVD. I mean, is this your choice, or is it just the way of the world now? Because people are still buying it. Let's be under no delusion.
Well,
you sell a lot of copies of DVDs, don't you?
Yeah, I know where you're coming from on this one, but when I first started making DVDs in 1990, we would sell 500,000 copies.
Right.
You know, because they were a novelty. And so did Connolly, and so did everybody else. But in this day and age, you're lucky if you sell 100,000 copies, 150,000. You are lucky, you know. And it's like years ago, you had to sell 200,000 copies of a single for it to get in the charts.
Right.
These days, the limit on it is about 25,000, and then you're in the top 10 of the charts. So times have changed because it's easy, acceptable. It's there in front of you. You've got your laptop, you've got your computer, you've got your watch, you've got it's just everywhere you look, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy anything anymore. As I say, within seconds. I've seen me write something down and think, that's funny, I'll try that tonight. And I've tried it. And I know for a fact it's come from my head. And then 2 days later, I see it on Facebook.
Wow.
So people are telling everybody, you see.
Yeah, there's no secrets anymore. How does that work in your live show? Are people forever trying to video you and stick it online? Because, I mean, they love you so much.
Announcements, please.
Yeah.
No mobile phones, no photographs and all that. You know, more or less let the banana live in.
Yes.
You know. You can have 2 nights. I had a night last week, Chesterfield, and it was absolutely fantastic. And the next night I was somewhere else that wasn't so good. And I had to walk off, and I walk back on again, and I walk off again, and I walk back on again, because I was just drunk. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I said, oh, lads, give us a break. There's hundreds of people in here now. Pay good money to see me. Listen. Crap, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
There was someone the other night that, like Piers Morgan said to Peter Andre, you know, you accepted millions of pounds to have 15 cameras in your home and make tape recordings and film every single move you make. Now, because that's all over with you, between you and Jordan, surely now you can't complain about people following you about and telling photographers to put the camera down and shouting at them in the street. He said you created a monster. And Peter came out with some great answers, and I thought that was, and it's the same with me. I created a monster in 1969 by effing and bland and telling blue material on stage.
Yep.
So if anybody complains about it now, I can't say that's not me, because that is me, you know. But it doesn't mean to say I have any, you know, I don't go down the Houses of Parliament and shout my mouth off because I don't think it's right about, you know, the taxing and thinking about parking spaces and all the things I talk about on stage. I have no right to go down there and start, you know, saying, oh, I don't agree with this and I don't agree with that. You know?
One question I've always wanted to ask you that I never have. Have you ever been either bitter or upset by the fact that Parkinson's never been begging for you to go on, or any of these other shows, when you're actually selling more DVDs and more popular than half of the guests on these shows?
We were approached, you know, Alec, a long time ago by a company in London that was doing finding acts to go on these shows. And they suggested to Parkinson, Roy Chubby Brown, and he said he doesn't need the publicity. That's what he said. And then, remember that panel game that they think it's all over?
Yeah.
Remember? Now, I was asked to go on there, and George had rang me at the time and said, you're going on this panel show, so he said, I'm waiting for the contract to come through. So it didn't materialise, the contract didn't come through, so we made some inquiries. And Jonathan Ross had said, if he comes on here, I won't be doing it. So people put the spoke in for you, don't they? It's like Darlington Council. I have thousands of fans in the Darlington area who have to travel to Billingham, Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Newcastle to see me.
Yeah.
Darlington have a lovely theatre, but they won't have me because the Quakers. Why don't they grow up? You know, honestly, that annoys me.
Yeah.
What gives some councillor the right to ban me out of his town because they're Quakers? You know, there's more skullduggery going on in Darwin than there is in bloody Fred West's cell.
There is sort of a mafia in theatre and in TV, and you're either in or you're out, aren't you? And it is interesting that when somebody like Jonathan says something like that, it can keep you off TV. It's unbelievable, but it is true.
I got my back up about 3-4 years ago. I've been doing Nottingham Royal Concert Hall for years and years, and suddenly they didn't want me anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, why? Because of the material? Because they wanted all these new left-wing, you know, alternative comics.
Yeah.
They even barred Doddy out. I mean, now that really got my back up.
Yeah.
The funniest man in Britain, and they barred him out. Said didn't want him. Said he's old hat. That's their words, not mine.
But the irony was, I was with him at that last show, and he'd sold out 2,800 seats as you do. I can't understand how any theatre manager can have a louder voice than the population that are going to fill a theatre. It makes no sense.
Well, of course, especially when they're making that type of money.
Yeah.
You know.
Crazy.
Because we don't walk away with it. You look at your share of the gate, and you see how much money's coming in, and what you walk away with. You say, well, where's all the money gone?
Yeah.
And they're making a fortune behind the bars. And they take half your merchandise money. You know, it's just...
And it's also a council building, and if the public of Nottingham want to come and see you or Doddy or anybody,
right,
we should have the right to do so.
And they come on the Facebook and say, well, are you frightened of us? Why don't you come back here? You know, aren't you as good as you used to be? And all this, but they don't understand. It's got nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Yeah. As for your schedule now, I just want to talk about your health, because we last met, I think, in April, and shortly afterwards I read that you were in hospital. Firstly, how are you?
Well, you know, Alex, when you look back at my life since I joined the Navy when I was 17, I've had malaria, Bell's palsy, cancer, and I've just had some of my stomach removed. So obviously God doesn't want anything to do with me. So I'm saving up now for an asbestos suit, because I think I know where I'm going. So I said to the doctor, I said, look, I'm grossly overweight. What do you think? He said, salads, salads, salads. Nothing else fatty. I said, who are you calling friggin' fat? I knew I'd get it in if I tried.
How are you though, Chubbs, really? How are you feeling?
I'm alright, I'm okay, yeah. Bit throaty because I've just done 3 shows this week. 3 sellouts, and, you know, at my age, and like Doddy must be pleased, I'm pleased. People still paying money to come and see you. I mean, that you can't, you know. Someone else and all I was watching, I'm a Celebrity. And Chris Eubanks had said the biggest regret he had in his life was not spending enough time with his children. But he was in the business of becoming the very best in the world, and to become the very best, you have to give it 24 hours dedication. And I can understand that, because that's what I do. And although financially they've been good, I've neglected them with the time that I should have been taking them to school and playing football with them and things like that. What I was doing was travelling up and down motorways and getting to clubs and, you know, doing all that.
Yeah. You don't talk much about your family. Is that important to keep that private and separate?
It is. I don't, you know, we have cars that slow down at our gate, and then the wind is low and they're taking photographs and all that. And it's everyday life. But it's, you know, if you're going to do what I do, and you're going to be, what's the point of being a celebrity if you can't help other people out?
Yeah.
And is that what you do? That's part of it. I mean, I go to a football match, and I must spend 25 minutes having my photograph took, selfies, and you sign my brochure, and, you know, and I go anywhere, and people, I'm easy, recognisable.
Yes.
Stood there flying out and goggles.
As you sit here now, I mean, do you see that you've had an amazing life and career, and actually you might have fought a few wars, but you've won the battle? The fact that people are still turning up, you're still selling out shows, and you're still at it. As I told Doddy last night, I was telling you earlier, I was with Ken Dodd in Sheffield, I told him the same. It's a remarkable achievement that this many years later, you're still at the top of your game. And extraordinary, with no TV support really, no big branding, it's just your name and people turn up.
Well, you don't get anything for nothing. You know that. You're an expert at that. You have to work hard. When I was younger and everybody was telling Irish jokes, I used to think, oh, that was the norm, but it wasn't. You have to develop a style, a person, you have to develop material, and you have to give it your all. You know, you've got to learn to grow up, and that's part of your education. It's part of sitting there and watching and looking and observing and thinking, is this funny? Editing yourself. So, you know, there's the alternative field. You've got like Eddie Izzard, very, very clever, speaks 5 languages, but to me, he's not funny. So, you know, you get people who are really funny and people who are not, and other people who are just, you just have to walk on the screen
Yeah.
You know, well, Cooper was a prime example of that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Absolutely.
You know, so it's like I watched I'm a Celebrity last night, and I'm now sat here trying to think of things to say about it.
Mm.
And I'm actually saying, do you hear how Chris Eubanks talks? He talks quite funny. And apparently he met the Pope years ago, and the Pope speaks 8 languages, and he still couldn't understand Chris. So I'm still trying,
Yeah.
you see.
And in terms of the business and money, I mean, you've earned an extraordinary amount of money. You must laugh sometimes when you see the big stars come and quickly go and you're still at it. That is an irony, isn't it?
That's my last 3 wives who walked away with a house and jewelry and money. Yeah.
What lucky women they were.
Oh, look, well, getting me for the start.
I know.
You're not taking the mick by any chance, are you?
No, I wouldn't dream of it. I wouldn't dream of it. Royston Vasey is one of my favourite people. Roy Chubby Brown's new DVD, Hangs Up the Helmet Live, is available on DVD now. Keep on keeping on. We'll do another one of those video interviews next year because your punters love you. And I always say, whether you like or hate the material, you can't deny your popularity. And for that, you have my ultimate admiration. Your fans absolutely love you.
Oh, it's lovely of you to say that. It's lovely, that.
What we'll do, we'll play that tape we made in April in Leicester now. Yeah, you can watch us doing this lovely chat by the piano at the Athena in Leicester. And again, the new DVD, Hangs Up the Helmet Live, Roy Chubby Brown, is available now. Great to talk to you, Roy.
All right, bye, Alex. Bye.
Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to an old friend who I've known for 20 years. He's a man who sells out theatres around the country, and I'm delighted to talk to Roy Chubby Brown. How are you?
Hello, Alex. And how are you these days?
I'm delicious, as you can see.
All right. Well, I'm a bit on the heavy side, and the other side isn't so light either.
Are you one of those size 0 types?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, extra large, you know. I mean, women think they're getting more if they see that on your shirt. Extra large.
There is less of you. I mean, have you been on some regime or diet?
I've got to say, I think it comes with age. You know, I'm 70 now. You know, it's been around since Captain Cook was a sea cadet. I've always been trying. You know, I've been torn between the fact that I am Chubby Brown, and secondly, people saying, oh, you'll have to lose a bit of weight, you're not going to live very long, or, you know, and everything that goes with it. There's nobody been on more diets than me. I've been on everything. Cabbage soup, bananas, everything.
Did the Atkins work for you? That's a good one. No carbs.
I tried that, but I sort of took to bacon sandwiches.
You can't have the bread with it. The bacon's fine.
Yeah. No, you've got to have bread with the bacon. You can't just have bacon on its own. I wrote to him. I threatened him.
Now, the gym. We talked about the gym last time. I know you like swimming, don't you? That must be a sight.
Well, I go down every morning. Well, when I can. I tell a bit of a fib there. 3 or 4 times a week at least. And what I've started to do now, because it's good for your knees and it takes your weight, I run up and down in the pool for about 30 lengths. And that keeps me ticker going, you know. And then I go straight in the cafe and have a bacon sandwich. That fat bastard.
Well, we do the chanting tonight. I mean, that is your name. As slim as you are now, I mean, you're wasting away to nothing. Nymph-like, dare I say. We get a bit of chanting, don't we, about the you fat bastard?
You will all the time, yeah. But she's not with me tonight.
And then, of course, the hecklers who don't quite come fully equipped with a full shilling, you have to put those in their place, don't you?
They will be told. They will be told. And I've thought of a few today. Yes, I have, yes.
Are they almost infinite? Because you've always got an answer for everything. I guess you have to have, because that's the act, isn't it? You can't be outwitted.
No, well, they could make you look foolish, couldn't they? You know, you were supposed to be, you're the one they're paying to say. If somebody else is funnier than you in the audience, you know. So I carry a gun with a telescopic sight. If the bouncers can't shift them, I will.
Is it fun being you? I mean, you've been around so long and you've defied your critics in a sense that you're still selling out and you've got a major audience. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because very few people give you credit professionally for being one of the biggest selling artists in live theatre.
As you know, when you're controversial, as I am, I mean, a lot of this political correctness has ruined a lot of comedians. They don't work anymore now because, But I'm of the opinion, the day we stop poking fun at each other, and we'll lose that that humour, the street humour, the working class humour. If we, there's no harm in it. And I always say, you don't go and see a violent movie and then come out and kick somebody in the goalies, do you? I mean, you leave it behind. It's the same with me. You come in the room, we have a good time, we're having a party. If you want to dress up, whatever you want to do, and then you as soon as you go out the place, you go back to your natural reality. You've got a tax bill and a phone bill and a gas bill. You've got to insure the car. You go back to reality. When you're with me, we live on Fantasy Island, and we say things that I say things that other people wouldn't normally say, and that's why they pay to see me.
Of all the people I've interviewed over the years, you're one of the most popular on my channel. You have thousands of hits. People are very interested. Also, privately, you're one of the people I have to defend the most, because I don't think people quite get that it's an act, and that you're a really talented pianist, for example. I said pianist. And that you're a clever comedian. I mean, you're continually rewriting, adding, putting in, doing a show, throwing it in the bin and starting again.
I couldn't be one of them who told the same joke for 30 years. I know the old musical comics used to do that. They'd have an act and that was it, and they would never change it. I couldn't be like that. I'd be bored to death. Every morning I get the papers and have a look and see. Some days I can't think of a thing, I have to be honest. And other days I can write 4 or 5 sheets of script. And then, because I have no inhibitions, I have no barriers, I have to censor myself. So I just carry on with it. It's what the old wives used to say, at least Chubby calls a spade, and that's all there is to it.
Are there some jokes you've written and done that you wish you hadn't in hindsight?
Well, I do get the blame for a lot of things. I mean, there was things said years ago, wasn't it, about the Bradford fire, and they said Chubby Brown said that. I never said no such thing. I mean, I might be controversial, I might be filthy, I might be rude, I might be obnoxious at times, but my last line there is, I would never ruin my career. I've got a wife and family, I've got children, I've got grandchildren now. Do you think I'd put them through purgatory just because I said something, I mean, I know thousands of jokes about paedophiles, but I don't crack them because that's not my barra, that's not my level. I mean, mine are dirty, filthy jokes, I think, but they're not, they're not, I don't scrape the bottom of the barrel, and I do think about what I'm saying.
I always admired Joan Rivers. She always said she'd never apologise for a joke and refused to do so. Do you have that policy as well? Because you are a comedian. I think people forget that. You are making jokes.
Some reporters said, and it was only a couple of years ago, I would never see you. You're very racist. I said, listen, I raise money for blind dogs. When they train that dog, I don't tell them who to give that dog to. I don't don't give it to him, he's a different colour to me. That's just ridiculous, and some people say, even last time I was here at Leicester, at the stage door, we had loads of Asians outside. Did you leave us alone tonight, Chubby? I said, I might be controversial, but I'm not an idiot. I don't want the papers to say tomorrow, Chubby Brown found headless in the back of taxi.
No, that's one headline you don't want to cover. We are here at the Athena today, which is a great venue because it's sort of a cabaret room. Is it difficult doing a place that's as diverse as Leicester? Does it make any difference, or is your act your act?
Well, I always ask the owners, I say, is it all right to say? And they said, say what you like. They've come to see you. They haven't paid £20 to see me. They've come to see you, If I was that important, the seats would be facing me. They're not, they're facing you. It's up to you if you want to take a chance, This is why I come on in a suit of armour. Yeah.
The last time we spoke, you got your new DVD out for Christmas, and at the same time you'd done this documentary about yourself, and I'd recorded one with you back in 2005 or 6, I think it was, for Channel 4, and people are fascinated by you, and I see at the stage door, I mean, there is literally everyone, men, women, black, white, all different colours, age groups. You seem to have had a resurgence in recent years as well. Do you think that's to do with the sort of political times we're going through? Because it is controversial at the moment. People do have opinions. The UKIPs are rising. It's sort of made what you do relevant.
Well, I'm not religious and I'm not political. I'm a joke teller. And as I look back over the years, I say, let's go back 2 years ago, I thought, well, I've had 40 odd years at this job. I'm not filling theatres anymore. The people haven't got the money. They've got other things to spend the money on. Maybe I'm coming to the end of my career. Then suddenly it was as if the word got round, oh, Chubby Brown gives tenors away. And I haven't been to a theatre in the last year that hasn't been packed at the door. So what's happened there? Unless they're just waiting for me to turn me back.
Or drop down live on stage, maybe.
Get him. Yeah, he'll turn on in a minute. We'll get him. Yeah.
Is it still thrilling when you walk out there and get that ovation? Because, I mean, you make sure you start the show like a rock concert, don't you? And there's a certain aura about you when you walk on.
I don't... I've never, ever took a drug in my life, only Anodine, right? And I've never been that drunk that I fell over. But there can't be a bigger high than standing on stage and 1,000 people laughing at something you wrote that day, whatever it was. Now, last week, we had a plane that went over a motorway, and the wing hit a taxi, and it landed in a river. And that night I walked on and said, could you imagine that taxi driver going home and saying to his wife, you should have seen the size of the tip I got today. See, and it was fresh. And people in the rooms started clapping after, that for me, an up-to-date, if you can relate to that, an up-to-date gag, an up-to-date line that people think, people are sat there thinking, I wish I'd thought of that.
And it's terrifying, though, isn't it? Because when you're doing that topical stuff, there's a possibility it might not get a laugh. Do you worry about that?
Were you there last night? The audience last night, I cracked some gags last night that was in the news, and I said, I had to say to the audience, can I ask you something, ladies and gentlemen? Do you read the paper? There's never two nights the same. There's never two nights the same. In fact, the last time I was here, I was halfway through a great gag, and there was a power cut. So I don't know how that one went.
What do you do, to stand there and shout? Is that the only way out?
We all started laughing. Yeah. I just went to the microphone and went...
The persona you have and the costume, let's call it that, the Roy Chubby Brown costume, did that happen by accident? Because it's iconic and synonymous to you, isn't it?
Yeah. In the 60s, the late 60s, you used to go along to a venue. It didn't matter how good you were on stage, good, bad or indifferent. At the end of the night, they say, who was on? And they say, somebody called Ted on the drums and somebody called Alan played the guitar. So I actually said at the time, we need a name. We need a name that people go home and they can they take the mick out of. So I'd been reading a magazine that day about the two flyers that flew the Atlantic, Alcock and Brown. I said, let's call ourselves Alcock and Brown. And if I had £1 for every time I've heard that gag, we thought Sammy Davis Jr. was on, So you see where I'm coming from. And also, there was three of us. So you'd turn up at a venue and they'd say, who are you? And we'd say, Alcock and Brown. But there's three of you. And I'd say, yeah, it's Mr. Hall, Mr. Cock and Mr. Brown. And they used to say, do you mean we're getting three of you for the price of two? It's all psychology, isn't it? And, over the years, we've had to think like that.
The music is such a big part of your life privately and professionally. You make it part of the show now. I've said to you many times, I think you should come on as you and actually just play the piano because you're stunning. I just heard you in rehearsals. You're amazing at it. And it's a great passion of yours, isn't it?
I was about 38-year-old, went to see a movie, The Sting, and this music came on, and I actually, the friend I was with, I said, what's that music? He said, it's called ragtime piano, but I was a drummer. And I played a bit of ukulele banjo. And I went to Walker's sale rooms and I bought an old piano, £5. It was miles out of tune. I didn't know. And went home. And the poor bloke in the flat below me must have been going mad because I would sit there for hours going dum dat dum dat dum dat dum dat dum. And about 11 years later, I have several tunes off, and I took to it. I couldn't get away with jazz and blues. I love it, don't get me wrong, when it's played right. But I was a sort of a person who looks for melodies. And since then, since round about 86, 87, I've written about 150 songs. And the songs are like poems, aren't they? They're sort of personal. You either like them or you don't. And then when I was giving me songs to these music companies, because it was me, they were expecting a lot of effing and jeffing. And they didn't realise I could write a song. And just at the moment, I've started to do a thing for Zoe's Place, which is a hostel for terminally ill children. So I've written a song called Zoe's Place, and we're in the studios this week as we speak. And hopefully within the next month, it'll be out, and that money is going to the hospice, because I've paid my phone bill.
The last time we spoke was, I think, 2010, and it was the day after Bernard Manning had died, and I'd done an interview with him and fell in love with him as a person, and I know you were a big fan. And there's a fascinating story, isn't there? Because he'd phoned you shortly before he passed away.
Well, I'd actually gone away that they did that on the morning, and he rang my house. Hey, where are you? You know. And he left me a message, and he died that day. And of course, it was in all the papers, and I came home 2 days later, and he was on my answer phone. So it was a bit of a choker for me. So I rang BT and said, can you actually put this message on a CD for me? And they did. And I have that CD at home.
Roy, I loved seeing you, and thank you so much for your time. You're one of our greatest acts, and regardless of the content of your show, as a human being, I think you're to be admired. What you do for charity privately it is only to be admired. The money you raise is wonderful. And the joy you've given people, whether Toffee Nose people in London think it's right or not, is not really the point, is it?
Well, if people don't believe what I have to say, you can always go on the Chubby Brown website, chubbybrown.biz, and you'll see we give the cancer research people £5,000 a few weeks ago. They were absolutely delighted. And what I have to say to you, Alex, is it was the audience's money. I buy the material, obviously, and then sell it to them, and that money goes to them. And the delight you see in those people's faces. And we've done all sorts, and like millions of other people, we know the government pays 75% of all these registered charities, but they have to find a little bit for themselves. And you know, I'll continue to do that. I'm giving them a little bit back for saving my life. That's what I'm doing.
And again, how are you? I always ask you this question. I should have asked it right at the start, really. But how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your health?
I'm fine. Just this week got a bit of cold, bit of a sore throat, been coughing as you do, you know, sucking on them lockets and.
As long as that's all you're sucking on.
Yeah, it's a different. You might know it by a different name, but I've. You know, hot drinks and worrying whether I'll get through the show. Talking like Louis Armstrong. But anyway, it was lovely talking to you.
Right, Chubby Brown, thank you for your time.
Anytime, mate. Bye.